Okay, I would say we could start. We are more than 20 people. So, hello, welcome to our eighth session. I'm really happy that you find the time to join us today. So, for those who are joining us for the first time, we already have like 7 sessions. So, and this webinar are in the framework of Reintegrate Wellbeing project. And this project is about burnout and about well-being. And so it's addressed to the people who experience burnout and who are in the long-term in employment, or also for employers or for the companies. Because we believe that through this project, we can create something new ideas, and also we can create a new, better work placement. So yeah, let's say that's the most important target. So today, the subject of today's webinars is communication for stress relief. It's a module-free soft skills for empowerment. And I just wanted to remember you that this is a safe space. So if you want to ask us something or add something, we are here for you. You can use the chat, of course, or you can just raise the hand. So yeah, this is really a safe space. So it's interactive and we are also here for you. Exactly. The meeting will be recorded because we would like to use it after for the project purpose. And I would like to present you our today's mentor, our Laura. So about Laura, Laura is a course manager and training director of ETN. During most of her career, Laura has been a union representative for teachers in secondary schools. Her role was to ensure that teachers received a fair treatment by the employer, to support teachers during burnout and work leave caused by stress and anxiety, guiding in a phased return into work, and being an ambassador of well-being in the work placement. In addition to this, Laura worked with educators on staff professionalism, teacher development, and work-life balance. So I would say the right person in the right moment. So yeah, I will give the floor to Laura. I just wanted to wish you a nice session. Enjoy and stay tuned with us. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Marta. Thank you. That was a very nice introduction. For the ones who were here with us last week, thank you for returning, first of all. Thank you for being loyal. I'm hoping that you're going to find this session interesting and most of all, useful. I believe that communication, it's probably the number one soft skill that we need as human beings, together with empathy. And during the course of this session, I'm hoping that not only that some of these concepts are going to be a little bit clearer and useful, but also that you can share with us your thoughts, because it's very important to create that communication starting here in this session. So I'm going to share my screen. Going to share the presentation starting from Unit 3, second topic, communication for stress relief. I'm hoping that I've tested the links at home. They were kind of working, so I'm hoping that everything will go smoothly. Please feel free to use the chat because I will monitor if there are any messages, if you need to ask questions or disagree. I'm happy for you to disagree with what we're saying, not a problem. I would like to create like this two-way conversation about stress relief, because it's good to know how we get to burnout, but I think it's even more important to know how to get that stress relief, how we can get out of the problem that we're in, starting with using communication properly. So effective communication skills are a powerful tool to prevent burnout. We are going to look at how poor communication, high stress in the workplace are often among the main causes of burnout, something that could be simply cleared with a conversation with a colleague, with your manager, could actually be so simple in order to avoid further stress. Active listening, assertiveness, conflict resolution, and empathy are key soft skills when it comes to effective communication in the workplace. We are going to talk about a bit later about these specifically in isolation, and you'll need to think about how many times you've used these techniques as well. So start thinking now in terms of how effective are your communicative skills. This session will help you also not only to develop and improve your communication skills, but also to give you some guidance, some strategies to empower you as a manager or to empower you as an employee, not just in your professional life, but obviously in your personal life, because communication is a skill that encompasses all types, all aspects of our life, and in general to safeguard you. To safeguard your general well-being by handling workplace pressure. So let's start with the first one. There is a quick video here that talks about effective communication skills, which I already had open. That's okay. Actually, let me close this. I had it open here.
Effective communication skills in the workplace. While schooling prepares us for some things, there usually isn't enough of a focus on how to communicate effectively. This can leave professionals with no idea what to focus on to improve their skills or where they may be lacking. Luckily, communication skills are easy to build as long as we retain awareness of them. Listening. While this one seems like a no-brainer, you might not be shocked by how many coworkers and bosses fail this basic skill test. Being a good listener is the most advised way to communicate because you understand the conversation much better if you know what's been said. Tip to improve listening. 5 steps to practice active listening. 1. Pay attention. 2. Ask clarifying questions. 3. Rephrase what they said to ensure understanding. 4. Repeat as needed. Friendliness. Miss Manners loves this one for a reason. Being friendly and creating an open environment go a long way in workplace communications. Smiles are great for this, as long as they are genuine. Being friendly lets people feel like they can and should talk to you. Tips to improve friendliness. Personalize whenever possible. When you're sending an email or seeing someone in the hall, saying "Hi, Bill," or "Good morning, Susan, how was your coffee today?" makes you more approachable. Smile. Think of something funny to make it genuine and natural. Open-mindedness. Being open-minded is the ability to consider other points of view without staunchly sticking to your own. Open-minded workers are not married to their own ideas, opening communication channels and idea workshopping. This makes everyone feel valid and supported. Tip to improve open-mindedness. Adopt a policy of listening to reasoning before every decision is made. Try phrases like, "This is my reasoning. Can you explain yours? And we can agree which we should go with." Or, "Can you help me understand your point of view?" Feedback. Giving and receiving feedback is a critical skill in every workplace. Without feedback, workers cannot know whether their methods are effective or need improvement. Therefore, everyone should look for ways to improve their feedback skills when giving and receiving. Tip to improve feedback. Try not to focus on buts. We often hear people start feedback with a compliment that is immediately erased by a but. For example, "I like the layout of this presentation, but your content wasn't right." Instead, use the compliment sandwich. The presentation was great visually, and I really liked the layout. Once we work on elevating the content, it'll be perfect. Since you already have such a great organization of the ideas, we should be able to punch the content up easily. Are you enjoying this video so far? Please give us feedback by liking or disliking this episode. Thank you. Nonverbal communication. Nonverbal communication accounts for 70 to 93% of communication, meaning that even when we're silent, people get up to 93% of a message, even if it's not the one we think we're sending. So by learning how to leverage nonverbal communication properly, we can ensure we're sending the right message. Tips to improve nonverbal communication. Make and maintain eye contact to show you're paying attention, but don't stare. If they're not looking at you and you've been looking longer than 5 seconds, you're staring. Relax your stance, uncross your arms, relax your shoulders, and pay attention to what your face is doing. Communicate effectively. Effective communication often boils down to remembering that you are not the only participant in conversations or communication. The other person needs to be considered for communication to consider both parties' viewpoints, ideas, and development. If you want to become a better communicator, download a free ebook, How to Talk to Anyone, 10 Simple Tricks to Have a Meaningful Conversation, at www.selfimprovementvault.com, or check the link in the description.
Okay.
Small talk at work examples.
Sorry about that. Okay, so I hope this video was nice and clear. I thought it was. I also would add to that when we are having a conversation, particularly if it's going to be a difficult one, try to ensure that you are always at the same level. So if the person is standing, you stand. If the person is sitting, you sit down with them. Sometimes even the opposite. If you're about to say something that could potentially be upsetting, I would crouch down in front of the person. So even at a lower level, just to make sure that they don't feel threatened by what I'm going to say. It's just a polite way of conversing with someone. So have you ever heard of the communication skills presented in the video? Is it something new to you? Just put in the chat, yes or no. Is it new to you? Yes, some of the things were new or some of the things weren't. Do you consider these skills as useful for everyday work? And do your employer and your co-workers use these skills? Have you seen this done in practice? Have you seen this, whether it's consciously or unconsciously, in the work environment? If you could put that in the chat for us, that would be great. So if you've ever heard them before, is it new, or have you found something new in the video? I'll be reading the chat, or if Marta, if you can do me the favor of keep an eye on the chat while we go on, that would be great. Thank you, guys. Okay. In the next bit, we're going to sorry, just one sec. This is going a little bit crazy. Okay, so communication is a key to prevent burnout. Have you ever considered what effective communication consists of? Before you go and have a conversation, do you almost plan in your head what you're going to say, how you're going to say it? What is the tone that you should assume before you start? Or is it something that happens in the moment and you think, maybe I could have done it differently? Effective communication includes the exchange of information, obviously, thoughts and feelings, but it has to be done in a manner that is clear, respectful, and meaningful. We looked at at what active listening means. It's funny, when you come from a language background, they call this listening and understanding, or listening comprehension. It's not just about listening or hearing, it's about understanding what the other person is talking about. And the only way to understand is to listen carefully and ask questions. Ask them to repeat if it's not clear. Ask them to give you examples. Don't just assume that you understood. And it also, in the process of being listened to, it's very reassuring for the person who is speaking to be asked questions, because they can see that you're interested. They can see that you're trying to get to the other person, which is obviously a way to show empathy, which is one of the most important parts of conversation. Assertiveness, this is a little bit tougher, because there are some people who are naturally assertive. Not necessarily, I'm not talking about dominant personalities. Those are a little bit, but not everyone has it in them. So if your character is quite shy, a little bit meek, or you're a yes person, I want to please everyone, it's very difficult to be assertive. And there are even lessons for assertiveness to make people become a little bit more confident about speaking what they think. Because the problem with assertiveness is that if you don't manage to express yourself, it will all stay inside. It's not going anywhere else. It's staying inside, and it will create a sense of imbalance inside you. So every time that you think something, that you're unhappy, that you think, oh, I should have said that to my boss, or I should have said that to my colleague, and it doesn't come out, it stays in here and it festers, and it creates a whole much bigger load of negativity that could have not existed have you had the courage to speak up. And sometimes it's you can say it really nicely. Assertiveness doesn't mean to be bossy or to be mean or negative. You just say, excuse me, not on. Okay, so it's just a little bit of courage sometimes to say what we mean, to say what we think, because we all have the same right to expression that everyone else. Communication and its influence on stress management. You're probably wondering how communication is linked to stress management, and very often everything is connected. So it's worth to look at this in a holistic way. For example, the results of effective communication impacts positively on increased sense of safety, because you know that every time that you have something to say, there will be someone who listens. Trust, which is very, very important. So you need to start thinking also, do you trust your colleagues? Do you trust your line manager? Do you trust your boss? Do you trust the people that work for you or under you to have that relationship, that conversation? And you need to, maybe you don't have that trust yet, but it can start simply by conversing, simply by opening that channel. It can obviously impact positively on understanding. If people come and talk to me about what they're feeling, how they are stressing, I understand them better. So as a line manager, when people were telling me all the big problems that they were having at home, I then, oh, right, so that's why he was late. That's why he didn't deliver the presentation on time. And I can be more understanding, because I'm not a dragon. We all understand that everyone has issues, problems. Sometimes they're bigger, sometimes they're smaller. Sometimes what is small for me is not small for you, and vice versa. So the opening the channel of communication is key to understand everyone in your work environment. And although it's difficult to open that channel, because sometimes things are private, you think that how you're feeling should be just about you, and maybe you can do it with your family, with your partner, but not with work colleagues. I'd like to remind you that the work colleagues are your second family. So you need to learn how to trust the people around you at work. And finally, effective communication impacts positively on promoting emotional well-being, because when you are open with other people, you feel lighter, you feel better, you feel that you can be honest, rather than smiling at people, going home, oh, I hate that person, he makes me do this, and that's all that negativity. You don't want to bring it in the house. If there is a problem, you can just simply start the conversation at the right tone with the right person, and you will see that that negativity will start diminishing in you. Okay, so we'll talk about what we can highlight. So active listening, we talked about it a little bit, when we're fully engaging with the speaker, giving them your full attention. One of the main reasons why I absolutely cannot stand people holding their phone while they're talking to me, because they're doing that. Ooh, I don't know about you, but I don't like it at all. So when you're having that conversation, you can very politely say, can you just put your phone down, face down for me, just 5 minutes that we're having this conversation, because you can say, I'm a princess, I want your full attention, okay? Because I think it's important. It's a matter of respect. And you imagine going to your boss's office talking, and you're glancing on your phone, checking your text. It's just, no, absolutely not. So make sure that you're focused in a way that you'd be focused if your mom was talking to you, I guess, I don't know. And it's also about asking their perspective. So you want to make sure you're fully engaged in a conversation. The second one is assertiveness, is the ability to express one's thoughts, needs, and boundaries in a clear and respectful manner. How do you do that? There are various ways of doing it. There are if you go on YouTube and you just put how to be assertive, you will find dozens and dozens of videos of showing you how to start a sentence with the right words. I believe that, for example, or I feel that, you know, all of these starters to talk about how you're feeling inside, to express your thoughts. Conflict resolution. This is a skill that not everyone has, but everyone should try and cultivate, because conflict will be everywhere. Family, work, any aspect of your life, there will be conflict. So having some conflict resolution skills could help you to address issues together and to avoid burnout. Because when you are going to work with that mindset, you're going to disagree with someone on a daily basis. Or, oh, are we going to argue about this? Oh, this is going to be, you're already putting us, it cannot be a good day if you already have your head full of negative thoughts. It cannot be. Because you need to start the day with, this is going to be a great day. Because a lot of good things are going to happen today. And if I encounter that colleague that I usually have conflicts with, I'm going to deal with this in this way. So it's important to, again, if you want to go on YouTube, conflict resolution skills, there are dozens and dozens of videos about that as well. And it does, though, link very much with assertiveness. You cannot avoid, using assertiveness to resolve a conflict. You need to stand your ground. You need to make sure that people respect you and your thoughts. And finally, empathy and compassion. For a conversation to be effective, you need to practice empathy. I often listen to, I've been a mediator in conversations between managers and teachers. And what I heard was a conversation with loads of sentences beginning with I. That's not an effective conversation. It's important to really put yourself in someone else's shoes, practice this. Just imagine any co-worker or the person that you usually disagree with, put yourselves in their shoes, because you will see the world in a different way. Because sometimes we focus so much on the I that we forget everything else. And if we want others to feel empathy and compassion for our well-being, we need to start with showing them the same. Okay, so hopefully we get you familiar with the mentioned techniques about communication. What we're going to have a look at is another video. It's a short video. Hopefully it's going to I don't know why it's doing that. Marta, I did try it yesterday as well, and for some reason this link doesn't open for me. It just goes back. I don't know. Shall we just skip it?
Okay, I will just notice this for us, but yeah, we can just
Yeah.
skip it then. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks. Sorry about that, guys. I have a feeling that we're going to have the same thing here. Let me have a look if I come out of this and I double click it. It might be easier. It's blocked for me. Can't even. Sorry, guys. Don't we love when technology doesn't work? Nope. If I, Marta, because you have full access to the presentation, right? Because for me, it's certain parts are locked. If I stop sharing and you start sharing from this page, which is page 42, and then you click it, would that be okay?
I'm now not with the presentation because I'm using another computer, so I don't have it
Okay,
open.
okay.
So I think it's better to skip it, you know?
Okay, that's fine.
I
No
will not
worries.
help you, I'm sorry.
That's okay. This one will be able to. That's fine. Okay. So we're going to look at some techniques in practice, especially of assertiveness. I think I've done a few meetings with people when we teachers about assertiveness. You would think that a teacher is assertive by nature because they have to control a whole crowd. That's not true. When they have to control children is very different from from being assertive with other adults, and especially it can be quite difficult to be assertive with a person who has a higher status than us. So with your line manager, with your boss, with your CEO, it is difficult to be assertive because you feel that you don't want to be rude, you don't want to show disrespect, you don't want them to think badly about you because you want them to have a good opinion about you. So it's very difficult to find that fine line between being assertive so that they can respect you and think, ooh, you're a problem maker. So let's have a look at how to be more assertive with the internet that goes at the speed of the light. Lord. Okay, it's getting there, maybe. I don't know if you've ever had, training about assertiveness, but it's quite an interesting one to have.
Dear Man is an interpersonal skill set used when you'd like to ask someone for something in a way that will more likely get them to say yes. It's based on assertiveness training models and can be extremely effective depending on several factors. You may find as you listen that assertiveness like this doesn't fit with what you've learned from your family or your culture. That's okay. See if there's anything within this skill that could still work for you. The term Dear Man is a way to remember each skill: describe, express, assert, reinforce, stay mindful, appear confident, and negotiate. First, describe the current situation using just the facts. For example, you told me you would do the dishes last night, but this morning when I came downstairs, the dirty dishes were still there. This helps orient the person to exactly what you're reacting to. You might be tempted to say more like, "You're always annoying with this stuff." Don't do this. Keep your describe short, concise, and objective in order to grab the person's attention and avoid making them feel defensive. Next, express clearly how you feel or your opinion about the situation. Don't assume the person knows how you feel. For example, I felt disappointed when I saw the dishes weren't done. By sharing your personal reaction, you're helping the person understand why you're making the request. Next, assert your request by clearly asking for what you want. Don't assume the other person knows what you want. Be clear, concise, and specific. For example, can you please do the dishes now? Or, If you know you're not going to get to the dishes, can you tell me so that I can do them and we can have a clean sink in the morning? Notice how each assert was a question. It's not enough to simply express, I'd like you to do the dishes. It's also not effective to demand, do the dishes now. Asking an assertive question can be uncomfortable for people at first and may require a lot of practice. Finally, reinforce or reward the other person ahead of time by explaining what they could gain by giving you what you want. At a minimum, this can be expressing appreciation or gratitude, just by saying, I'd really appreciate it. Or try being more specific to the situation. Our living space would be cleaner, which would make me less stressed. I know I'm a lot easier to live with when I'm not so stressed. Now, the other person might interrupt you, argue with you, or try to change the subject. This is why it's important to use the skill of staying mindful of your goal in the situation. If needed, express your opinion or reassert your request again and again. It might feel silly, or you might be tempted to change up your script. Instead, just repeat in a calm voice. Can you please do the dishes now? Or, I would still like you to do the dishes now. If the person responds with their own request, becomes mean, or tries to divert you, don't take the bait. Stay on topic and be mindful of your request. It also helps to appear confident with your voice and body posture. Convey that you know what you want and you're deserving of it too, while still respecting the other person. Don't whisper, stammer, or look down. Instead, speak up and stand tall. The skill is called appear confident, not be confident, for a reason. Fake it until you make it. Finally, negotiate if you need to. Be willing to give in order to get. This may involve reducing your request or offering another solution to the problem. For example, how about I unload the dishwasher first so you can empty the sink? Another way to negotiate is to turn the tables and ask the other person for solutions. What do you think we should do? I would like a clean sink in the morning, and you really seem to not want to do the dishes at night. How can we solve this problem? Dear man can also be used to say no to a request. Using the same steps, say no clearly. If someone asked you to hang out and you wanted to say no, a dear man response could look like this. Hey, I'm feeling pretty drained and tired. I can't hang out today. I'd be more fun on a different day when I have more energy. Can we hang out one day next week instead? Notice how describe wasn't necessary since the person already knew what you were reacting to. Notice how you asserted clearly, I can't hang out today, instead of saying something unclear like, I don't think I can today, or I'm not sure. Dear man is a skill that works best when practiced. Practice writing your dear man out ahead of time and rehearse in front of a mirror or another person. Describe, express, assert, reinforce, stay mindful, appear confident, and negotiate when necessary.
Okay, so after watching the video, think again if you find these methods as easy to implement in your life. Now, most of these examples were mostly from our personal life. And I feel that when you're talking to a family member or your partner, because you've built a relationship that is quite unique, you are more likely to be able to be assertive unless it's not a very happy or equal relationship. Then perhaps you would be in your work environment where you have to deal sometimes with 10 people, 20 people or more. So it's about really sometimes knowing the other person and how they will react. So it's a bit of a psychology game. But in the end, if you practice your assertive skills often enough with a fair amount of different people who are on the same level as you, people who are your direct line managers or your big bosses, then you will see how you will feel more confident to the point that you don't have to fake it until you make it, because you know that every time you will go that little step further where you will be able to express yourself without thinking, what's going to be the reaction? What's going to be the reaction? Because that's what blocks most people from speaking, is how are they going to react if I say that? Have you noticed people in your surrounding practicing these techniques, do you feel perhaps that some of your colleagues are more assertive? And do you think that they are assertive, or they're pretending to be because they want to avoid stressing? Do you feel that you are an assertive person? This is something that you need to ask yourself. I would like to know from someone, if you're brave enough in the chat, if you think from 1 to 10, how assertive you are. 10, you're super assertive. No one can make you do something that you don't want to do. And 1, you've got zero confidence in being assertive in a work environment, for example. If you want to share it, I'm very curious to see how you see yourself. Okay, let's have a look. We've got some answers. Okay, we've got a 7 here. Good. Another 7 here. 7 is quite good. It's quite high. So now, if you thought about a number for yourself, think about how other people see you. Would they give you the same number? I feel I'm quite assertive, 8 or 9, but I'm afraid I do not respect the gentle rules you showed us. Fair enough. Fair enough. Could you explain us a little bit more? Why do you call them gentle rules? I'm too direct. Is it too direct or just direct? Because if it's too direct, then you're probably saying that there's a problem. Too direct. Okay. Directness is good. I think a lot of people prefer other people to be honest. Direct doesn't have to mean necessarily rude. It's do you think that this is how they see you? Do you think that this is how your colleagues see you? Do they say, oh, she's too direct? Or is it just something that you think, you have this perception of yourself? Colleagues appreciate it. Yeah, I thought so, because a lot of people do appreciate a direct approach. But again, at the beginning of when we saw the first video, remember it's also cultural as well. Family members know. That's brilliant. Of course they don't. My mom is very direct. No one appreciates that. But that's too direct. I think there is a difference between being assertive and being direct. Being assertive is really about communicating what you need to the point that you are not keeping anything inside, but you can do it in a nice way, in a respectful manner. When we're talking about directness, we are talking about criticism as well, so it can get a little bit tricky. But yeah. So colleagues, usually they appreciate it, but like I said, it's a very cultural thing. I worked with a few Japanese people, and I can assure you they do not appreciate directness one bit. They prefer, and British people as well, they prefer politeness to bluntness, to directness. I think perhaps, especially in the organization that we work in, we have so many different nationalities, so many different backgrounds, that it's very easy sometimes to get the wrong message. Being direct can be seen as being impolite or as being rude even. So it's important to always know who is the other person that we're talking to, because we should be able to adjust. That's about feeling empathy. That's about understanding the cultural backgrounds of the people that we work with. I work with a lot of Polish people and a lot of Mediterranean people. They're quite different, the way that they express themselves, the level of seriousness as well. So you always have to adjust a little bit, and the more people you work with, the more conscious you are about how to be assertive in different situations and in different contexts. Thank you very much for sharing with us. I love the fact that they're very soft. Okay, I'm gonna go back in presentation mode because I think you can see a little bit too much of my screen, which is quite messy. And I can't access this for some reason. Okay, let's go here. Okay, so we talked about assertiveness, and the second, a little bit uncomfortable topic is conflict resolution. And we are going to look at some strategies. Please, if you've got pen and paper, just jot down a couple of strategies that we are going to look at how to resolve conflict. What are the techniques that could be used or should be used in the work environment, but then again, also in your private life. I'm sure that there is conflict everywhere. And these techniques might be quite useful to even prevent, because sometimes you see the signs of conflict.
Resolving conflict. In any decision-making process, there is potential for conflict to develop. People may find it difficult to work together because they have different values and interests, or because their personalities and attitudes are not compatible. Conflict that is not properly handled can have a negative effect on council activities. It can reduce productivity and affect the morale and confidence of council members. However, well-managed conflict can help to clarify issues. It can create new opportunities for discussion and strengthen relationships among members. Here is a helpful list. Number 1, acknowledge that there is a problem. Clarify and clearly state the concerns, needs, and interests of the people involved in the dispute. Emphasize the ground rules. Adopt a positive tone and a problem-solving attitude. Set ground rules that will help maintain a courteous, respectful environment for discussion. Some of these ground rules could be no interruptions, respect each person's opinion, address the issue and not the person, or each member is encouraged to contribute. Number 3, look for areas of agreement. Start by helping members find common ground. Identify areas of agreement before addressing the differences. Number 4, affirm the value of different opinions. Discuss the fact that different opinions are natural in a group. Help members separate the opinion from the person holding the opinion, and do not allow personal attacks. Focus on the problem, not the person. Number 5, listen to everyone's point of view. Let council members express their opinions and perspectives. People will be more willing to discuss alternatives if you acknowledge and legitimize their right to hold particular points of view, even if you don't agree with them. Number 6, define the conflict early. Make sure you understand the issue causing the conflict and that you are focusing on the right problem. Try to identify any assumptions, expectations, misinformation, or lack of information that may be influencing members' opinions. Many conflicts can be resolved by improving communication and explaining issues carefully. Number 7, create solutions. Identify a range of options for solving the problem. Invite others in the group to help resolve the conflict. List the advantages and disadvantages of each option. And finally, number 8, choose a solution. Choose the best solution and follow up to make sure that it is carried out. We hope that this list has been helpful in how to resolve conflict among council members. Thank you. Take care.
Okay, so hopefully this was a taster, good taster. It was quite a short video just to show you a couple of techniques on how to deal with conflict resolution. Again, think about the cultural background as well. I can see that thinking about the different contexts that I've worked in, some of these rules wouldn't even apply. It would be like, what do you mean talk one person at a time? What? Sometimes it can get quite messy. And this is why it's important to have a mediator, like a referee said, oh, that's someone else's turn, and sometimes, because sometimes it's a little bit off-putting when you have to say, excuse me, I would like to finish my sentence. You can say it once, you can say it twice. After that, it gets a little bit like, wait a minute, are you not respecting me at all? I can't finish a sentence. This is not a conversation. If you wanted to do a monologue, go to the theater. I don't know. It's important to find those ground rules. And if you are a mediator, it's important to know the characters that you are going to have in the room that are going to have that conversation. If you're not a mediator and you're one of the people, always start with giving the good example, okay? If you have interrupted, which sometimes can happen because we can get all emotional when we think we are right. So we're like, oh, sorry for interrupting, please continue, sorry. So then hopefully we can have mirrored behavior, and the other person will recognize that you have apologized. And when it happens again from the other side, so, oh, sorry, yes, I interrupted now, please continue. Because we can't have a conversation if we interrupt each other. We can't have a conversation if we don't think that we're at the same level. If we're not on the same level, I am just speaking at you. We're not conversing. So think about the strategies that you've just seen, and think about the ones that you've never tried. Okay, think about the ones that you have never either didn't have the courage or didn't know how to use, and write them down. And the next available time that you have, just put them into practice. Just try them and see how people react to that. Do you feel, if you feel, for example, that in a conversation you're being belittled, like people don't let you finish because they already assume that they know what you're about to say, you say, oh yeah, that's, ooh, don't let that happen. Excuse me, I would really like to finish. You may know what I'm saying because you've got a crystal ball somewhere, okay, but I would like to finish. Or sometimes make it a little bit, you can make it a bit funny. You don't have to be confrontational. I always try to use humor because I think it's probably one of the most powerful weapons that we have as human beings. So I try always to keep the atmosphere light and fun. So try these strategies to make sure that you can get your thoughts across, and that you focus on the most important thing, which is to resolve the conflict. Okay. Come on, work for me, work for me. There you go. So now we're going to look at empathy and compassion, which is our last subtopic of communication for stress relief. Like I said before, it's absolutely crucial that you feel empathy for the person that you're speaking to. I understand that, especially in a conflict resolution situation, looking at the other person with empathy is super difficult. It's mega difficult because in that moment, what you're thinking about is me, my problems. We are in this conflict because of you. And there is a whole blaming culture. So it is very easy to go that way. And if the problem is this, that if you come to the conflict resolution session with that mentality, with the mentality that this is not going to be a good session, it's not going to have a good result, it most likely won't have a good result. So you have to go in there with that, well, this is the time that we're going to resolve this once and for all. So you need to go with empathy straight away. Try to see the point of view and try to communicate that as well. We'll have a look at the video, which luckily is opening for us, and look at the language that is being used in order to convey the message that you are feeling empathy for the other person, so that the other person knows that you are truly listening and that you're understanding their point of view. You might not agree, but you understand it. Okay? My super speedy internet.
How can we communicate with more empathy? That's the topic that we're going to hit in this video. I would say empathy is the most powerful concept that we can embrace if we want to connect better with other people. So let's get into those details. Hello there and welcome back. I'm Alex Lyon, and if we haven't met yet, this channel is called Communication Coach because we are here to help people probably like you, emerging leaders in your professional setting, to give you good professional development advice, especially on the topic of leadership and communication. And in this video, we're going to talk about empathy. So how much empathy do you naturally have for other people? How able are you to understand where they are coming from in the moment? This one concept is one of the most powerful concepts that we can use. We really embrace it to change the way we interact with other people for the better. So several weeks ago, I was going through McDonald's drive-through, ordering my Egg McMuffin. It's like the one item that's my weakness at McDonald's. And I pulled up to the cashier and he had amazing customer service. I'll call him John, put that in quotes, not his real name. John had amazing customer service. The way he talked to me, the way he looked at me, it really felt genuine, not like a robot, not like he's trying to move me along and get rid of me. It really felt special. And I told him, I said, John, I just want you to know, you have amazing customer service. And every time I interact with you, you're amazing. And he said, you know, it really, thank you. First of all, thank you. He said, it really comes down to empathy. He just nailed it. He knew. Cashier drive-through, he knew. Empathy. So let's talk a little bit about what empathy means, and then we'll boil it down to some ways that it shapes your communication like it did with John. First of all, empathy is understanding the other person's feelings. When you're able to put yourself in their shoes, take on their point of view and take their perspective on the world and on the moment, you are going to understand their feelings. You're going to be able to connect with what they are experiencing in that moment much more effectively. There's a famous writer and speaker named Brené Brown, and she talks a lot about empathy, especially the difference between empathy and sympathy. And she says sympathy divides people. Sympathy says to someone else, oh, you poor thing. And it pushes them away a little bit in that way. But empathy has the opposite effect. Empathy is where you actually feel what they're feeling. You enter their world, whether it's a difficult or negative emotion or a positive and happy emotion. And I think this is something worth exploring for a second. A lot of times when we think of empathy, we think of what are people's struggles and what are people going through in that negative sense. And certainly that's what counseling is about. And as a leader, you have to be in touch with people's difficulties. But empathy is also entering their positive emotions and feeling what they're feeling, celebrating their successes with them, sharing their joy. That can really connect you with other people as well. So let's talk about 3 ways that communicating with empathy shapes your communication with other people. And it certainly shaped my interaction with John, the guy at McDonald's. First of all, we have more compassion in our communication when we empathize. So I could really tell that as an employee, John cared about me. As silly as it sounds, he's communicating to me in nonverbals with eye contact, with a caring expression, and his verbal messages, the tiny little word choices that show you he sees you and he understands what you're going through right now. It's early in the morning, he knows it's hard, and he was just connecting with me. So he had much more compassion in his communication because he empathized. The second way is that we will shape our messages a little differently when we have the other person's perspective in mind. So now I'm not just communicating, saying what's on my mind, but I'm thinking about how this might land and connect with you as I communicate it. So I'm tailoring my message in a way that's going to meet you where you are. And so that's really what happened through the drive-through. Even though I might have been the 50th or 100th person that came through the drive-through that morning, I really felt like I was the first customer to come through because it was my first time coming through. John knows this, and so he's talking to me like it's my first experience. He's not treating me like he's already talked to 100 people. He's treating me like this is the first customer of the day, and he's happy to see me, and he cares about my order. So that's one of the ways that empathy will change the way you interact with people. You will shape your messages with the other person in mind. And the third way is that our messages are much more likely to connect. So if it's built around connecting with the other person and where they are, your messages will end up hitting the target. You won't be out of touch or tone deaf in the way you communicate with people. You'll communicate with them to where they are, and you're much more likely to connect in that way. And so John at the drive-through again did this in lots of ways. His facial expression, nonverbals, everything he said, he made me feel like we were two people, two human beings connecting and talking, even if it was very brief, rather than a worker and a customer. We were just outside of our roles a little bit more, those narrow roles of customer and worker to one person talking to another person. And that's what empathy feels like. When you transcend those narrow professional roles that you feel stuck in sometimes, empathy will break you out of that, and then you connect person to person. So in terms of application, I would like you to think about the interactions that you have that could use more empathy. And I would love to read your comments in that section below the video. Where do you need more empathy in your life?
Okay, guys, I'm going to stop it here because I'm very much aware that, again, we've come up to almost 3 o'clock. But we had almost finished, so to be fair, not too much lost with. It was just a little questionnaire. So first of all, I would like to thank the people for the project. I would like to thank Marta for being our host, and thank everyone that came, that managed to find the time and participated in this session. I hope that it was useful, and I'm looking forward to seeing all the other sessions that are coming up. And remember that if you have any questions, please let us know. Marta, if you want to say anything else, I am done for the day.
Yeah, I think, thank you very much, Laura, for your webinar. I think we got a lot of information to process, also myself, not just regarding the work, but also private life. I think the communication is the key of everything. And so thank you very much for all examples and all content you gave us today. So it was a pleasure for us.
Brilliant.
Thank you for
Thank
everybody for coming also and for joining us. See you
Thank you
next
very
week.
much. Thank you.
Thank you, guys. Thank you. Have a lovely weekend.
Thank you. You too, Laura. Thank you.
Bye.